Hi, it's Steph, and today I bring you to my car. Just kidding. We're actually back at Walmart. I did a garden tour a few days ago while I was at Walmart running an errand, and I thought about a plant that I wanted to come back and grab today, and I'm going to explain to you what that is. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Linda Vater, Vater. She has a YouTube channel here on YouTube, and I love following her. She has a beautiful Tudor-style home in Oklahoma and a lovely English-style garden. And Linda does a lot of topiary. So from watching her channel over the last couple of years, my gardening hobby has sort of evolved into having a little offshoot, which is topiary. And I made my first topiary last year. Now, topiary is the art of forming a shrub into various shapes. It can be an animal shape if you're, very talented and have the ability to do that. It could be something as simple as like a lollipop shape, which is the central leader or stem with like a ball on top. You could have multiple balls. You can also have something like a spiral. And so what I did was last year I tried with a boxwood. And I put it in a terracotta pot, and I very carefully limbed it up so that it would have a central stem and a little pom-pom on top. Now mine is a real baby, so it still has a little bit of a shaggy look on top because there wasn't enough to shape it into a proper ball. But I am going to show you, when I was researching the appropriate type shrub or a good candidate to shape into topiary, there were a couple of things that you should look for. And while it would be ideal to get a large plant and bedazzle it into a topiary right off the bat, it is a little bit more difficult as the plant ages because the central stem or leader isn't going to be as pliable. So because it's so windy outside, we had a nor'easter come through, and it's like so windy. I didn't think you'd be able to hear me if I was explaining what I'm trying to do. So I thought I would do this intro in my car, and then I'm going to take you to the rack where they have their new shipment of very young boxwood. They have green velvet and winter gem, I believe. And so I'll show you with the components of a boxwood that will make a good candidate for topiary training. So here is the winter gem, and you can see these are $7.84. They're really small, maybe a 1 gallon container, but for a project like this is actually the perfect price point, because if it doesn't work out, you won't feel so bad. So winter gem, and here they have the green velvet. When I'm looking at the topiary, what you're looking for is one that will have a prominent central stem. So here you can see there might even be 2 boxwood in this container, because sometimes to make it look a little fuller, they'll go ahead and pot 2 up. So if you took this home and took it apart, it's very likely that you could have 2. But what I look for is I look for one that has a very straight, or a stem that I know I can cut off pieces and it will still be fairly straight. So this one here again has an offshoot there that you would trim off, but you see how it's going in kind of a V? If you cut one of these off, it would be a little crooked. So this one to me is not one that I would choose for my topiary project. This one might be okay if there are 2 in here, because this is fairly straight and young enough where you can just let the top grow. Again, I'm pretty sure that there are 2 in each of these containers. This one here, this to me is a good candidate. You see how it has a couple on the shaft here of branches that we can clean up. There's an offshoot here that we can cut fairly low, and this central leader would be pretty straight. And then you can see that it'll take on a round shape on top. This is going to become the canopy. So I would cut this off, I would clean off the stem, and then this one. So this one looks like a good candidate, so I'm going to pick this one up. Let's look for another. I want to get 2. This one has too many stems going on. This one looks like if I cut this one off, it'd be veering to the right. It could work if you plant it in the pot a little bit straighter. I'm going to look for another. That one has good shape, and it has what looks to be a single stem. So right there, that one has a single stem. I can clean off this shaft and it has an okay canopy. So this is another good candidate for topiary. I found a rack with some bigger ones. Now these are Green Mountain Boxwood, and these are a little bit larger. So this one's a winter gem, and this one is a Green Mountain. So the Green Mountain already appears to have a very nice circular or round habit. And if you can see, because this is a little bit older, it's already really woody and has a lot of branching going on at the bottom. So this would make it a little bit more difficult to train into topiary. Now I really like the growth habit, the rounded growth habit of this Green Mountain Boxwood. So I am going to look through them and see if I can find two that would be a good candidate for topiary. So again, I can show you on this one, there's an offshoot there. The stem has already gotten really thick and nubby. So this one doesn't seem to have a central leader, so it would not work as a candidate for topiary. So I just found what I think will be a good candidate for my topiary project. This Green Mountain Boxwood has a really nice straight and thick center stem or trunk. What I'll do is I'll start by trimming off these side shoots and limbing it up, and then I will be left with a nice little, round canopy, which will hopefully eventually become a ball shape or a lollipop type topiary. So I am going to grab two of the small ones and this larger one, and the larger ones are 1688. They still had some of these sky pencil hollies, so I'm going to get two of them because I think they'll be really nice in my Japanese garden area. They're small, but for $12.84 it's a good price, and I'm pretty sure the deer like these, so the fact that they're inexpensive won't make me feel as bad if they do get munched on. So I'm going to grab one of these bigger boxwood of the Green Mountain Boxwood, and I'm going to grab two of the smaller winter gem, and we are going to topiary these together. It's now the next day and we're ready to work on our topiary project. I brought out the one that I worked on last year so that I could show you. This one is a baby. See how thin the stem is? So I overwintered it in my basement. I just gave it some plant tone fertilizer, and now I'm going to start bringing it out and acclimating it to the weather for the season. But this is an example of what we're going to work on to create today. Here are the three topiary candidates that we purchased at Walmart yesterday. These are 3 boxwoods. The 2 smaller ones are winter gem boxwood, and the larger one is a Green Mountain, I believe. Let me double check that. Yep, a Green Mountain boxwood. I did want 2 of the larger ones, but unfortunately I was only able to find one that had the perfect stem for this project. So let's get going. We'll start with the smaller ones. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you get your pruners. You can use a bypass pruner or even one of these floral snips. Let me actually grab my bypass pruners. So I have both my Felcos and my small flower snips. Because this is such a baby, it has very thin branching, these will do the job just fine. If you had one that was a little bit thicker, you might need like an anvil type of pruner, but these are going to work for my purposes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to disinfect it with some isopropyl alcohol. All right, we're ready to go. So looking at this topiary shape that I want is going to be the pom-pom on top with a straight stem down the middle. So the first cut I'm going to make is going to be this branch right here. And you can see just by doing that, we're now left with a central stem. So when you're cutting your stem, even though I'm going to get as close as I can to the central stem, just leave a little tiny space because you don't want to wound this stem and risk hurting the boxwood. So I'm going to go just a little off to the side, just like that. And you can see that there's just a little nub. If I could get a little bit closer, I would, but I think that's as far as I can go for it to be safe. And now I'm going to just start cleaning up this central stem. And I can use my thinner shears for that, my floral snips here. And even with your hands, you can just peel off any extra foliage that might be up and down the stem here. So now, just like that, we've already started our topiary. And then you start working on shaping the top. Now, because this is a fairly young shrub, I don't have a lot to work with, so I'm just going to look at it from the top and just try to shape it into a round shape. And start slowly so that you can take off a little at a time. I mean, if you take off too much, it's not the end of the world because this will grow. You might just have to, it's like getting a bad haircut. You have to wait for it to grow in again. And as you're doing this, you want to turn the topiary so that you can shape it on all sides. You do have to look at it at different angles until you get it to a point that you feel like it's good enough. And you have to know when it's good to stop. You can't keep going. And I think right now it's in a pretty good shape. So this is where I'm going to keep this one for the moment. You see how it's starting to get a nice round shape and a central stem. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So I'm going to do the same process here. Just as a side note, I always keep my tags in an envelope with the year on it. So I will just take a regular envelope, I'll write plants 2022, and I'll stick my tags in it. So you have them for reference if you forget what type of boxwood you have. It's important sometimes to know how to care for plants, to know what variety you currently have. Okay, so same thing here. I'm gonna look at the bottom of the stem and I'm gonna start limbing it up by removing any excess leaves that are coming out of that stem. Where you want to be. I think that's good. So we'll stop there, and the two smaller ones are done. We're moving on to the bigger one. And here is the last one, and this is the big one. This is the Green Mountain Boxwood, and we're going to try to shape, we have a little more to work with, so we're going to try to shape this into a nice ball. Again, starting at the bottom. I think that looks good. So here we have it. So we are done with these 3 boxwood, and they turned out really cute, I think. Let me know in the comments what you think. This is the perfect time of year for you to go out and shop for these small, inexpensive boxwood. They're still really pliable and just a perfect candidate for this type of project. This is the one, again, that I made last year, and I really like it. I think I'm going to pick up a couple more terracotta pots for the smaller ones. And all I have to do now is just repot these. And it also looks really nice if you put a layer of crushed gravel or little stones. It becomes like a nice decorative element. I had some crushed stone or some gravel left over for some projects from last year, so I went ahead and just topped this terracotta pot with it, and it adds such a nice finishing touch. Thanks for hanging out today and for watching me topiary these 3 new boxwood, and I'll catch you in the next one.